temperature is 16 degrees. Feels cooler there, doesn't it?
I'm a bit warm from washing up and stuff, so
Okay.
I will get cool shortly. I'll put my dressing gown on.
Bum, ba-dum, bum. Well, Tony's up tonight. Can I just have your tin for a minute, please? Yeah. Thank you very much. So I'll process those leeks and onions in the next couple of days. Freeze them.
Yeah.
Haven't seen Mel for a while.
I just popped in the other week.
Let's clean this fan. It's very grotty. I have to soak that. These in something, maybe in the
Yeah,
laundry
it's
trough.
like oily dust.
Hello, Box. Good to see you. I like it when you repurpose and reuse things that other people throw away. I'm a great believer. Waste not, want not. There's always something you can do with it. Some things, basically, when they're completely destroyed, you can't. But most things you can. Your weather must have turned by now, I guess. No, I'm with you. I'll let you know our solar system's going real well. We've had it now for about 4 months and we haven't paid a bill. We use about 13, maybe 14 kilowatt on average per day. And we're producing up to 30. We get plenty of sunlight here, as you know. And so during winter, we did pay, but we actually got credits. So I think our bill would have been, I'm guessing, for 2 months it would have been like 100, but we get credits. So I'm not in a position yet to worry about a battery, although a battery, obviously, I know the benefits of having a storage battery. So, but the prices are coming down. I'm keeping an eye on them. We use at night time bugger all. I mean, we're talking maybe a kilowatt. So do I need a monstrous battery? Not really. I imagine you're probably near the end of harvest. What could be left in your ground? Maybe pumpkins? Trying to think what else you'd have. It'd be squash and pumpkins, I think. But you must be ready to peel them off and store them. All finished? Yeah, well, you're a little bit further north. Potatoes, yeah. It didn't used to get as cold as where you are. My grandfather used to leave them in the ground. What he used to do is stand on his potatoes near the end, and then the snow would come, and he would just put a stick in the ground where he last dug them out, what he needed for the night, and he just moved the stick down after he dug some more. So I think he probably had 12 rows of about 15 feet, so a lot of potatoes. But he used to feed more than his own family. But where you are, you can't afford to leave them in the ground because they'd split with the frost coming up so high to the surface. That'll make it pretty hard. We eat, like you do, we eat a lot of vegetables. Those things I cooked tonight, the spare ribs. They're maybe once every few months we'll splash out and get some spares because they're not cheap, but they're bloody beautiful. How'd you go with last year's blueberries? Did you do another round of blueberry wine? Did you get back into that again? Yeah, I imagine the middle of this month would be just about it for you. I remember you're about the 47th parallel. No berries this year. Well, I put in half a dozen blueberry bushes, which you can get a fair bit of blueberries off them, but they're just something that we can turn to and have as a supplement.
Say night all time.
Are you going to bed, sweetheart?
Yep.
Are you sleeping in the same room as William?
Yep.
You make sure he's all right. Good night. There's years that you could not walk around your place without having billions of blueberries, but I suppose the seasons pick and choose. Imagine if you had a really, really hot summer. That might have had something to do with it. I don't know. I mean, where I've got the blueberries, they're right up against the fence, and in the middle of summer, they'll only get about 4 hours of sunlight because you can't stick blueberries out in the middle of the sun in my place for the whole day. That wouldn't last. Just none this year. Yeah. You often wonder that. I remember I used to pick wild strawberries when I was a kid. And every year we'd go back and get buckets loaded. They're beautiful, sweet, like an alpine strawberry, only about ½ inch long max, but they were so sweet. And went back one year and there was no flowers, no berries. It was the right time of the year. The plants were there. There was just nothing on them. That's what I was going to ask you. I remember you've always grown monster cabbages. Just did some of the fruits from last year. Oh yeah. Do you preserve your cabbage? Like, I don't know, pickle or sauerkraut or not enough for winemaking? No. Cabbage is a good staple to go to in the middle of winter. My friends used to brine their cabbage, just a general brine, and they would basically parboil it for about a minute and a bit, so it's still firm, but it's got that protection. And then they had huge jars. They used to make pickle onions, and these jars were about, I don't know, 1.5 feet high by about 8 inches. And they'd have this cabbage going in there. And they didn't care whether it was red cabbage, green cabbage, didn't care. They just mix it all in. They used to salt it first and then wash it and then put it in the brine. The water from the salt was used for the brine. I used to brine everything. I remember they brined eggs, you name it, they brined it. Yeah, sauerkraut's all right. It's a good go-to. You can add it to so many things. Side dish, hot or cold. I've eaten sauerkraut. Yep. There's not many vegetables that don't freeze well when you prep them. People think you can't freeze potatoes. Yeah, you can. You just got to prep them before they go in the freezer. Like I'm chopping all the onions up shortly. I've got baby leeks, what they call bunching red onions, and spring onions. And I always just chop them up, put them in bags and freeze them. You can blanch them, but I use everything I've got there in like 8-9 weeks. I use it. So freeze garlic, yep. There's many ways to preserve food, but of course you're in a bit of a different situation than I am. I can grow a lot of the year, so I can eat fresh, where you don't get an option. Come November through to February, March, you're still chipping at the ground. So unless you've got the greenhouse going with some sort of heat, it gets labour intensive. When you can do it. Even in your climate, you could extend maybe 4 weeks of your growing season, but a lot of effort goes into doing that. And I sometimes went, there's a lot of money and expense into doing that, whereas if you just produce more and preserve. Yeah, no, it's the cost factor. If it was worth doing monetary-wise, you do it. Do I get a cuddle? Come on then, come in and give me. Yes, you can. Just for a second. Tiptoe through the tulips. Here comes.
No, because she's had a bath.
What?
Mozzies will bite me.
Well, I'll come in and give you a cuddle. Do you think the mozzies are going to get her?
That's true, Luella.
Up in the chair. That's one of the grandkids. She's about 3 and a bit years old and she runs the household. Mind you, she's a girl. Bossy little bugger sometimes. But that's the secret. Instead of extending the season, is to produce more during it. We've got 2 grandkids sleeping over tonight. School holidays. Mum and Dad's get a bit of a break. They eat like horses. Cheaper to keep horses than grandkids. They have kids. I don't know, when I was a kid, I ate every vegetable. One thing I never liked when I was a kid was like oily fish, but I ate most everything else. Kids today, they just, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. My eldest son, who's now going to be in January 41, when he was a kid, he would eat everything. I used to call him the fridge, because every 10 minutes you hear the fridge door opening. But he was very active, so I didn't stop him eating. I always found that basically if he needs the fuel, he's going to eat. He was never fat. Yeah, I eat everything, but oily fish like sardines. I don't like anchovies, but that's about the only thing I don't eat. Mind you, if I was hungry and there was 2 tins of sardines, I'd eat them. So I'll take that back. I choose not to eat them. When I'd finished braising these spare ribs, man, the broth is just to die for. It's like a bone broth. And I kept some, and I'm reducing some to make like a gravy for when we have them. But man, that's nearly the best part. The meat's great, but geez, the broth you end up with is so bloody good. I think one of the things predominantly, and this is true, we eat a lot of vegetables. That's why I grow a lot of veggies when I can. I can't grow a lot here, obviously, because it's all raised pots and gardens, but you can grow a fair bit. People will misconstrue what I'm saying oh, you're growing a lot, but I used to grow a lot. You know, 3.5 acres many years ago, and every season, I just had more food than I could possibly eat. So we'd give a lot away, and some to the schools and retirement villages and things like that. But you don't need a lot of land to grow a lot of food. I know, I've got my kids probably about, there's mainly the girls actually, they like growing. And one of the daughters now is right into it. She's asking all these questions, how do I do this, how do I do that? I always, because she's had a couple of failures, and I said, that's okay. Things that don't grow or die, there's usually a reason. You just need to work out what that reason was. You always have failures in the garden. Wow, 150 kilowatt. Woof, lithium. My goodness. That is a lot of power. That is an enormous lot of power. And basically that's 5 full days of good sun for me, about 31, 32 kilowatt, that you'll have stored. And that's an enormous amount to have in reserve. Wow, yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? And some people don't know the value of stuff. I got asked a question a few weeks ago. A mate of mine said, I found 6 12-volt solar panels, but they're about 14 years old. I said, man, what's your question? And he said, well, are they any good? I said, well, just hook them up, take a reading off each panel. And he didn't know how to do that, so I showed him how to do that. And then you'll work out if they're good. And he phoned back and said, one was no good at all. He said, but the rest were pretty good. Oh, right, they'd be huge batteries. My goodness, they'd be monsters. We've got them here that are used for around Perth. They're all electric. 400 buses. My goodness. Well, literally, if a battery went from one of those to someone's house, that'd be your reserve power. That's how you get things, Box, isn't it? It's not what you know. Never has been in life. It's more down to who you know. There's nothing wrong with that. And some people would get offered them and they go, nah, I don't want them, not knowing what they're giving up on. That's a massive amount of storage. It's good stuff. I wonder if you could look at reselling them. There's got to be people off-grid. What's the voltage on them, Box, in general? I mean, are they all the same, or are there variances of them? Or you yet to determine what the voltage is? $680, yeah, no, they wouldn't. A lot of people would have no idea how to transform that. Yeah, but you're in a position that you've probably got most of the equipment anyway. But let's just say, there wouldn't be many people like you, but there'd be some that would certainly utilise that. Yeah, I suppose it's just a case of unless you've got the knowledge to transfer that voltage. And if you're doing series and parallel, if they don't know any of that stuff, there's no point in them buying it anyway. But they use all the buses here are electric now. Yeah, the thing is, if they're selling them, they want to get rid of them. They don't want someone to come and buy 1 or 6. But the fact that they're lithium, my goodness, can you imagine the price to buy it today? Your eyebrows would fall off. No. I mean, you're talking about a power system that can give them an enormous amount of reserve power, but if people are not in that position financially, I mean, there's probably as much in selling the batteries to them as in your labour. So they probably don't want to come up with the money. But you're the winner here anyway, because you will use them. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I try to look into lithium batteries in regards to shelf life, as in just average maintenance and whatever. It's enormous. It's a huge length of time lithium will go for. I mean, I don't know how much lithium will be let in them, but lithium itself is a product you could sell. G'day, Bully. I'm sure Bully's not into solar systems and battery banks, panels, charge controllers, inverters. We'd probably lose them, I think, talking like that. Years later, there's only... Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Lithium's got one of these resilience, because if I'm not mistaken, those batteries from the buses would have been and capable of being charged to 0, otherwise completely flat. Because they wouldn't. They only must be 5 or 6 years old, I think, because that's when the big push came here and I'm sure in Canada. They're even talking school buses being electric shortly. Wow. Well, let's talk about shelf life. I mean, you'll be dead before those batteries die, box, unless you live to be 180. You could virtually start your own grid power with neighbours. Yeah, there would be. And of course, they'd all be marked with the year of production. And not all buses run. There's always a reserve amount of buses. So they wouldn't all be used all the time, or wouldn't have been. No, but that ends your need for any other batteries, I think. I think that ends it. Good morning, VMAC. How are you? Do you have any solar at all at your place, VMAC? Even if not just garden lights or panels? The batteries because of voltage issues. It seems a lot of waste of money there, box.
One of your solar lights fell down at the front and pointed it out.
I know, I'll put it back up.
Oh.
I'm going to set them in. I'm going to go in the shed tomorrow and I'll drill and set them in.
Because they just hook on, don't they?
Oh, they're just Velcroed. what I'll do is I'll just drill and plug and screw them in.
What I'm saying is the way, I don't know, the screws and all that primer and the cover.
$500 million, my goodness. If you put in a hot house. Well, solar's everywhere here in Australia. Like I say, if you flew into my city, you'd be blinded looking down. Just panels everywhere. And the panels that were up on older houses, say 8-10 years ago, they give them away. You often see 1,500 kilowatt systems with inverters, $100. I bought my first 100-watt solar panel for $800. It was a bit different back then. Wind turbines, oh yeah. Well, solar's become incredibly efficient over the years, and the storage capability, the transformation of that power through a system has got a lot better, more efficient. But we have so much sun, we do, and everyone around the planet has a fair bit. It's like, it's free energy. That's all it is. That's all you can boil it down to. Is it free to set up? No. Is it free after that? Yep. A day without wind is a rare thing. Yeah, well, you're near the coast, so we get our afternoon sea breezes, and they're just, 40, 50 kilometres an hour. So, some of the wind turbines, the bigger ones, wouldn't survive here because the wind gets 70, 80, and that can sometimes destroy a turbine. But like I say, I've got a lot of things that are charged during the day, like I've got an electric lawnmower, I've got an electric trimmer, electric edger, I've got a lot of electric stuff, electric drills. Now, I charge all the batteries during the day. It doesn't cost me anything. No, further north you go. You've got to go a lot further north than you to get those ripping winds from the circle. But I mean, Vox, you're way up north. I remember 47 degrees. Am I pretty close? 47.3. How's my memory? Yeah, so we're talking that you're way up north. Do you know what your parallel is, VMAC, where you live? NNS? I could handle the cold and get used to it. My wife could not. Okay. Well, Box is in Canada, but he is way up north. We're talking just him and a few bears. I was watching a documentary. I was thinking about you when I was watching the Box. It's in this place called Kanuk or something in Siberia. It's a town of about 20,000 people. And it gets minus 60 regularly. I mean, you've had that, but this is like regularly. And these young blokes were up there travelling around. They got out of the airport and they were rugged up, but one guy didn't have a hat on. And within about 4 minutes, his hair froze. Yeah, coastal wind is totally different for sure. Yeah, but I was watching this guy, because the wind was blowing in a direction and his hair was sticking out sideways. And he's thinking, oh, maybe I should put a hat on. And we're thinking, yeah, that'd be a good idea. You'd lose all your heat through your head very rapidly. And they couldn't breathe. They got out in about 2 minutes. They were short of breath. Obviously, as you know, when it gets that cold, it's incredibly low humidity. So your poor old lungs are facing there's no moisture going into your lungs at all. So lung freeze, yeah. But these people that live up there, they're amazing. Like middle of Siberia, where they have about 6 weeks of, wouldn't call it summer, but 6 weeks of not so cold, and it turns so quickly. And how all these people live there, like cities, it's just amazing. Telling Box I could probably handle cold, but you couldn't handle it, could you?
No.
No. Gets down to about 10 degrees Celsius, and she says, freezing. Yeah. You're not allowed to shoot moose, are you? You have to have a ticket or a certificate to shoot one, I believe, in Canada now. Is that right, VMAC? I reckon moose meat probably sounds good to me.
Oh, VMAC wouldn't anyway.
No, I'm pretty sure you got to get a ticket to shoot one. No, you could only come to my country Box round about August. You would not want to be here when it's 48 to 50 degrees Celsius.
The chef has entered the room.
The chef? Who's that, Mel?
No. Nicole.
Oh, excuse me, it's Nicoleska. Hello. Yeah, Nicoleska, I'll give you a scare. Are you ready? Hello. Yes. It's me.
Look what he's done.
How's your course going?
Yep.
Chef de pâté.
She says, what have you done?
Who said that?
Nicole.
Well, it doesn't affect my voice, apparently. I can grow back in no time. No, hair's tied back.
VMAC, you didn't notice?
What?
She says, did you have a haircut?
No, I think she means, did I cut my hair as well?
Oh.
I've been very fortunate in my life. It's funny, I played a lot of sport and I always wore a hat, always. When I was out fishing, wore a hat. You are furious with me. Why, because you saw my spare ribs video? Is that what you're saying?
No, because you shaved your beard off.
It can be grown back, don't panic. No?
Yes, you better cook something.
This is your winter of discontent, Nicoleska. Yes, I am from your chef de pâté past, and you must stop cooking Korean food. Yes.
He does it sometimes, Nicole.
It does grow back quick, I assure you.
You get to see that rugged stage, Nicole.
What?
When it sort of half grows back.
Sometimes these phones play up. There we go. Well, you must learn to live with change, Obi-Wan. Change is inevitable. Trust me, if I was living where Box is, my beard would be a lot longer. A lot longer. Well, whether you like it or not, change is upon us. See you, VMAC. I just noticed that you said, see you later.
Yeah, because she's got to go cook.
for brunch. Sunday brunch. Sounds good. Yep, I think life's like being a boxer. You got to know when to duck and know when to punch. Don't get them confused. Yeah, everything changes. It's like time, like the song, is fleeting. Goes so quick. Actually, when you grow vegetables in particular, you notice time a lot because everything's time orientated with the season. No, we must just accept it. That's right, enjoy it while we've got it. So how's it been going in your course, Nicole? What, anything extraordinary happened this week? Week's just finished for you and you've got Sunday morning waking up? "3,000 years and your lack of beard has offended me the most." Well, maybe it's just a green stream, Nicholas. Maybe the beard is still there.
I can assure you it's not. I had to empty the bin. The bin was full of hair.
Yeah, I suppose one of the things that you get bombarded with at culinary school is technique. And it's easy to confuse a few things. But I think to make a good cook, you have to have good taste. If you can't taste your food, you just follow recipes, you're never going to be a chef. And you're not even going to be a good cook. It's all about taste. I didn't do a video, but I did make homemade lasagna. The contents in it were ricotta, spinach, raviolo. And it was spinach, 3 types of cheeses, tiny bit of cream just to bring it together. Then I made my homemade pasta, and it was bloody beautiful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And my goodness, pasta goes a long way. I've still got half of it in the fridge. It's good for a week. No problem there. I'll make some tagliatelle or something. You have an omelette. See, the omelette's the old one. It's the old, make me an omelette. See how good a cook you are.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I won't order omelette out because the egg's not cooked enough for me. So I never...
You can actually make an omelette in 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's just...
But
restaurant omelettes or shop omelettes are just never cooked enough.
the thing is, even learning the art of making a risotto, which is boring as bat's piss, Nicole. All right, mate, good to catch up with you, Box. Have a good day.
See you, Box.
But risottos, it's just like, why? What's the point? It's probably the most unexciting dish I've made and ate. It's like, what was all this about?
You know what, to be honest, we have never had risotto.
I've made it and I've eaten it in restaurants and I'm thinking,
Right.
so what's so special about this?
I don't think I've ever
It's usually
had
the
it.
stock. The stock makes the risotto. Forget about what goes in there. If you've got a good stock, you can make anything with a good stock. But if I invited you around to my home, Nicole, and said, sit down, you say, are we having risotto? I'd say, no, don't be silly. Because it's a pointless, I mean, I'm not knocking it as in, is it a bad meal? This just seems a lot of faffing around, Nicole. Let's be brutal here. It's a faff. You'd enjoy faffing around, would you? Nah. I would rather make you a continental stir-fried rice. Delicious. And in probably about 15 minutes. Or we could both stand there while I make a risotto for the next hour and a half. And then they say you can only use certain types of rice, which is not true. You'll get them say, arborio, only arborio, nothing else. No, you use whatever damn rice you like in a risotto, Nicole.
The boys must sleep in that front lounge because I cannot carry him to bed.
No, he's too big for me to carry him anymore.
Well,
Way too big.
Well, I told you off before too.
Why?
Because you had the TV on and no one was in here watching.
Oh, did she? I told Box before she's 3.5 and she runs the house. Yeah, I know you have to follow them and you have to meet their expectations. That's the difference. Will you open a risotto restaurant? Unlikely. More likely a Korean beef and pork restaurant. But you've got to go through the... It's all technical is what they're doing to you. That's all that is. Like, you've got to make sure you don't mix up your chiffonade from dicing and crap like that. And when you make like a ravioli, I know the difference between using onion and shallot. Shallot is a much finer, delicate flavour. So that's why I use it in ravioli. But that's over years and years and years and years of doing it. Technique and cooking are meant to be experimental, even though you have to follow and be judged on technique. But as the years go by, you have your own way of doing things, your own type of stock that you make. Because I've known a lot of chefs in my time, and there's no real money in a restaurant. It's so precarious. You order, you buy, you hope to, and then it doesn't sell. There's wastage. So it's a technical thing as far as balance. Often you'll hear, if you sit in a good restaurant, they'll come up and say to you, I'm sorry, Nicole, there is no lobster. We're out of lobster. Which sounds like a bad thing, but it's a good thing for the restaurant because they haven't over-ordered. But I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy the process. Be nerve-wracking come exam. We've got billions of lobster here, they're like cockroaches. Western Australia, if you Google it, is the crayfish capital of the world. There's billions of them. I caught and ate so many lobster, I don't want another lobster. Prawns, I'll eat prawns. But lobster, I've had enough. I used to fish from the 1st of December to the 20th, and you were allowed to catch 8 lobster a day, which I did regularly. So I'd have at least 150. I had to have a separate bloody freezer for the lobster. And we'd eat a lot of them each year. And in the end, I'm thinking, I'm tired of lobster. So what I did was, my mate said, if you give me 5 lobster, I'll give you 4 kilo prawns. I said, that's a deal. We got a deal happening. Because I can do so much more with prawn than I can lobster. You're fairly limited with lobster. How I used to eat them, I'd go down, campfire, on a beach, walk out at night time, get 2 or 3 lobster just by picking them up. Like I said, the cockroach is there. And I'd take fresh bread, butter, Thousand Island sauce. Done. Lobster ramen. You mean proper noodle ramen. A bisque. Thank you very much. It's like you're going to come across it. They'll be saying to you in a lot of dishes, no, we don't use chicken stock and we don't use beef stock in this one. We use vegetable stock. Okay. It's like risottos. There's a great example. Oh, you've got to use a vegetable stock. Oh, really? Well, a lot of professional chefs use chicken stock. Some use beef stock. It's all down to taste. How you are at doing things like crumbing, like prawns, fish, and things like that. Have you done a lot of that in your time? We use chicken stock at college. I'm surprised they don't use mainly vegetable because of so many vegetarians, you know what I mean? There are people that work in huge restaurants in Australia. Their only job is to source the material and make sure there is gallons and gallons and gallons of each type of stock. I'm not kidding you. I don't even know what that job's called. Stock manager? But all they do is make stocks. So it's consistent. One person does it. You get 10 people to make a chicken stock, you probably do it in your culinary school, they're going to be 10 different tastes. I was reading the UK has a panache for masses of chicken. They eat so much chicken in the UK. Probably because it's cheaper than meat, I suppose. I know what your prices are. Yeah, it's consistency with stock. Like, you've been to a restaurant, I'm sure. You sat down and eaten something. This is good, but it's not like it used to be. It's because they've got a new sous chef in or something who doesn't do it the same way. Like, some chefs would never use cooked chicken carcass for a stock because you're pointless. The reason why you use raw carcasses is because that contains all the bits and pieces, the collagen, all the other nutrients that come from the bones of a chicken. Of course, throw in your mirepoix. Have you learnt to say that correctly yet, Nicole? Making a mirepoix, which is used in so many different dishes. It's like, we did make a stock up, and my daughter made a stock up, and she's smart. She used like mirepoix, and she had bits and pieces. She turned the leftover into baby food, which I thought was smart. Yeah, the bouquet garni, which is, there are traditional bouquet garni. If you go to Italy, it'll be different. If you go to the UK, it'll be different. It's normally a combination of bay, rosemary, thyme. It depends. You know, again, if it's to do with making a certain type of stock, it'll be different. But like I say, you're going to be judged on their information supplied to you to give them what they want as a result. And you might taste it and think, well, I wouldn't make it this way, but I'll make it this way to please you. Celery or leek, yep. I've got some beautiful baby leeks at the moment. I'm going to harvest in the next few days and freeze them. Any allium or any onion, you can chop up and freeze. No problem at all. But leek goes with a lot of good foods. It's a subtle taste, leek. Like, I like making my lamb and leek soup, which has parsnip, turnip, and bits and pieces in it, onions. Leek's beautiful. It's like chicken and leek pie. Don't know if you ever made one of them. It's a very subtle flavour.
There's something I don't like. I don't like chicken pies.
Wow, you're fussy.
No.
It's like, you know, when you do, what's a simple chicken dish? You know, when you just get chicken breasts and you'll split open and then you'll fry it on both sides. You might even cut it up into pieces, but you'll fry it on both sides. Then you'll make a combination of, say, shallots, bit of garlic, fry that up a little bit, maybe add a little bit, a tiny bit of stock, and then add some cream at the end and some black pepper, salt to taste, etc. You pour that over, and you've cooked some mushrooms with it, and you pour that over the chicken breast that you've cooked. What looks like a terrible looking chicken breast becomes a masterpiece because of the accompaniment you put with it. But that cream sauce I just explained can be used with steak. You can add a bit of Dijon in there, use it for pasta. It's the basics of shallot, or onion if you haven't got shallots, garlic. Stock helps. Like when I cook a cream sauce for pasta, I always end up dipping into getting 3 or 4 scoops of pasta water because cream and all those combinations you put in there thickens quite quickly. Soup stocks and sauces. Sauces is the big one. That's the one that you'll have to get right. Soup and stocks, I'm pretty sure you've done those. But it's the sauce. Again, it's not how you would make them, it's how they want you to tell them and show them you make them their way. That's the problem about school, is they want their answers, which you have to comply with, of course. So if you're going to make an omelette, run me through it, Nicole. I'll tell you my way of doing it. I always use a bit of cream in with the eggs, and with the omelette I'll obviously put it into the pan and I pull the edges in. So it's got a real rippled effect in the middle. And probably while it's nearly finished but still wet, I'll add any type of cheese. I like raw onion in an omelette, cooked mushrooms. So when you've finished and you pull all the edges in as you've been cooking, instead of just pulling one side, pull all the edges like a star, you end up with this ripple effect, which keeps a lot of it moist when you fold. But everyone makes omelettes a bit different. I do a reverse mushroom omelette where I cook a little bit of shallot, a little bit of garlic, mushrooms in butter, and they're 90% cooked, and then I put the eggs in. So it's reverse. G'day, Hamid. Have to whisk 2 eggs and add salt and pepper. Put in a pan with melted butter and fold. It's not allowed to have colour. That's on low heat. I know what they're doing there. But yes, you pull around to make the sausage styles. Yep. Yeah, that's a French method, Nicole. See, I know my stuff, Nicole. That's a French omelette that they're asking you to make, which is very bland, by the way. Because I like my omelettes to have a little bit of colour. So you must have someone with French influences if that's what they're making you do, is to cook the omelette without colour. That is definitely a French method. Yeah, it's like, say, you've got to tick their boxes. And as annoyed as I would become, I'd be doing the same thing, thinking, here, there's your bland omelette, you happy? But I wouldn't serve that at home. See, they fold that omelette in French techniques, and it's rolled out of the pan. They're so fussy, the bloody French, Nicole. That omelette you're talking about has got to be rolled out of the pan. Yeah, but that's a French method that they're talking about with that. I reckon food that doesn't have colour is not worth eating. It's just me. But I've done it as an exercise. I've cooked an omelette in 30 seconds. What does that entail? A very hot pan, a lot of movement, voila. But it's not that good doing it that way. Bit cream in an omelette. 3 eggs, probably about a 1/4 cup of cream, makes a huge difference. Bit of fresh thyme, parsley, black pepper. Medium heat. I'm not a good cook at all. I've had other people cook for me all my life. Well, some people don't want to cook. Some people love cooking. But if you've got people that cook for you, I reckon just keep that going. It's like I prep a lot. Like I've made these beef spare ribs tonight, reduced the sauce so it's good. It's not thick because I've got to reheat. And I prep, which means that tomorrow my job is really easy. It's a case of reheating and then reduction again and finished. But the process of cooking the spare ribs took a couple of hours. I love to cook, hence the education. It's got to be, in the end, when you pass your degree, you would have already formulated what sort of cook you're going to be, or chef, if that's what you want to call yourself. I tell you what you never do though, Nicole, you never go to someone's home and they are a chef in a big flash restaurant, because you will end up with peanut butter and jam sandwiches and a packet of crisps, because that's what they eat when they're not at work, or they go to a burger place. I suppose if you imagine it's like being a mechanic. You work all day on cars and you come home, the wife says, "Can you fix my car?" You'd say, "No." I really think some of the fundamentals are good, but the truth is I taste my food all the time as I'm cooking. It's got to have flavour. Not overpowering, but it can be subtle, but it still must have flavour. Sometimes I sneak away and cook over an open fire, then I'm the best cook ever. Barbecue. Some of the best chops I've been off barbecues. When I was young and I was a little bit pissed, and there'd be 4 or 5 leftover lamb chops, all crunchy, nearly inedible, but when you've drunk that much, it's like a la carte menu. But it'll be interesting. Like I say, you're not doing this for 1 year. There's several years you've got to do this. So where it leads, I don't know. I don't think you have any expectations of suddenly opening a restaurant.
Never know.
Well, no, that takes money, huge money. But it doesn't mean you won't go into catering. Take it to level 3, 2 years. There's a lot of money in catering. I used to do a bit of that. I used to run boat charters and have nights out. I had BAMREs on board and all that sort of thing. I'd make more money out of the food than I would out of the beer or the ticket price. But it's good to, even if you did this and then in the end you say, "I don't want to work for a restaurant," you've got all that knowledge. Yes, I've cooked over a bed of hot coals, some of the best meals you'll ever get. We do that a lot in Australia. We get a fire going and then we put all the coals to one side, build a pit, put a layer of sand on top of the coals, put whatever you want to on top, cover it with sand, a bit more coals. It's like a slow cooker. Cook anything in that method. But one of the simple joys of having open coals is wrapping potatoes in foil and then remembering that you did it 3 or 4 hours later. Pull out the butter, a bit of salt and pepper, you're in heaven. I used to cook fish on coals literally just as they're dying down. Put a whole fish on, not gutted, not scaled, and I'd turn it 3 or 4 times and just peel back all the scales and skin. And there you go. Easy peasy. I've no doubt you've been taking some of your, I suppose you'd call it homework, some of the techniques in at what you're doing and doing them at home, I imagine, trying to refine them. That's how we cook kangaroo in the bush. You don't do anything, you don't gut it at all. It all forms a tight ball when it's cooked. Just pull back the fur and get into the meat. Do that with any animal. That's how it would have been done thousands of years ago. Me and Emma's would have cooked whatever we caught on an open fire. Yeah, there'd be burnt bits, but sometimes there'd be the crunchy nice bits. But it's how we would have eaten. Simple, and in large quantities, and maybe not eaten for another week after that, because we probably didn't need to, and then hunt down another wildebeest. I know prehistorically, Hammers, they say that Stone Age people used to herd mammoths near a cliff and make a lot of noise, and then these mammoths would fall off the cliff, and down the bottom of the valley they'd pick them up and cut them up and all that. It's pretty much what happened to the man in the van, I think. The whole community, like Stone Age people, hounded him off the edge of a cliff. Yes, I'm in disguise. No, trust me, if I was back 1,000 years, I might be down to my knees. Yep, all those simple foods on an open fire, they're bloody beautiful. Any sort of root vegetable, corn, anything really. Yeah, it's sort of, it's slow cooking to an extent, but it's also got to be careful. If you've got too much heat in the coal, it's burnt cooking. That's how one of the easiest methods to do it on the barbie is you don't dehusk the corn at all. You might wet it, but then you put it on a barbecue. You just spin it around for 25 minutes. And there you go. Steamed corn in its own husk. Probably one of the most utilised vegetables in so much cooking is the humble potato. Here in Alberta, we have buffalo runs, yep. But we would have done that if you and I were Stone Age hunters, Hammers. We would have just eaten well on several days and probably not eaten at all for a few more. But I think our digestive system would have been built on the fact that there's not 3 meals a day. It's one enormous meal for 2 or 3 days and then nothing. You probably just lie under a tree, you know, with a huge stomach, and then wait 3 or 4 days for it to come out. And then go hunting again. Yeah, that was one of the most common, anthropologists proved that. That's one of the most common ways of doing it. Fear, even in the biggest beast, if you've got 40 or 50 humans banging and screaming and shouting, they won't hang around. We know that today. Animals don't like that. So that's how they would have done it. They would have cajoled them in an area where they would have fallen over or they've been trapped and just speared the poor buggers to death. I know they can't totally prove it, but some of these areas where there wasn't a lot of cliffs for animals to be pushed off, they'd build pits and cover them so the animals would break legs and things like that, which is a method, I suppose. Just as well the RSPCA wasn't around 40,000 years ago. This is just for you, Hammers. I don't think you've seen me yet. Yes. Stone Age man here. Oh, with a razor blade. But I think even more so back then, food was a topic all day and every day, I imagine. Not a case of what are we getting Friday night? Hunt, gather, eat. So you must break, Nicole, I imagine, soon, another month, I imagine, then they'll break. They'll probably have a couple of months off, I guess. That's if they don't shut your school down for this uptick in the coronavirus you got there. It's horrific at the moment. Europe seems to be definitely pinging up. Mind you, the US is the same. Two weeks off. Yeah, but you must, come Christmas, there's got to be 3 or 4 weeks around that you're not doing it. Never know, you just might be one of these people that goes on to do all these shows, you know, work with Gordon Ramsay. I'd have to punch him. Couldn't help myself. Yes, it was harvest season here. Took it off. Was out gardening actually, and I thought, yeah, I'll shave it off. Everything's growing, it's a change of season. If I want to grow a beard, it probably takes 4 months and it's back. So I don't know how long this will last. By the sounds of Nicole, not long. She's aghast that I've shaved off my beard. But it's just fur. It's not important, Nicole. Oh, that's not too bad. It gives you at least a couple of weeks. That's good. What is the story in Manchuria land as far as things closing because of the imposition of the new laws? What's happening there, Nicole? Is it a day-by-day, week-by-week thing at the moment? No one really knows? I imagine what Boris will do is start reducing the number of people that can be together. I think that's the... I couldn't believe, I was speaking to you probably about 2 months ago when they're opening up Europe. I'm thinking, what are they doing? How stupid can people be? Yeah, we'll open it all up again, it's all good. No, it was never good. It's not going to be good for a long time. The adaptation to what we face, this is not a species-ending disease by any means, but it's a changing of the species' behaviours that need to be taken. And some people just don't want to change. Well, I was reading some stats the other day. The UK is actually spiking quite heavily. So I could be wrong, but that's the stats I've been reading. I don't know what it's going to take. Possibly the world has got to realise, let's just do mandatory mask wearing for 3 months, see how it goes. Your pub's open till 3 a.m. and we disregard the COVID restrictions. Well, as long as there's no COVID, there's no problem. Yeah, I know the theory behind it because more people are being tested, but the infection's increasing. You can say they've just done more tests and that's why there's more. Well, they're there anyway, whether you test them or not is what I'm saying. Of course, the big irony this week is that the person that said, it'll just go away. It's like a miracle. One day it'll be gone. Don't worry, it's just like a small flu. Seriously, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. Really? Some amazing stats in Australia, Nicole, because everyone is following social distancing and lockdowns and doing whatever they have to do. No one's getting the flu because everyone's doing these change of habits. The contraction of the common flu, it's not happening. Even the common cold is not happening. So what it highlights is that better distancing normally prevents illness in general. You had a cold 2 weeks ago and I followed the restrictions. Well, in Australia, I don't know what they do around the rest of the world. I haven't been for a test, but if I went for a test, say at 8 o'clock in the morning, by lunchtime, I'd know. That's how it works here. In Victoria, they had a spike, now it's down to next to nothing. But you get tested and 4 hours later, there's the results. I don't know why I've been listening in the US saying it takes 7 to 10 days to get a result. What's that person doing for 7 days? They're not staying at home. They're just thinking, oh, well, I'll just go about my business. Then after day 7 or 10, they say, oh, yeah, you were positive? Oh, but I've been at work with 3,000 colleagues. Now you tell me? No point doing a test unless it's a rapid return so people can either continue working or stop working. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. If we talk about in our lifetime, Hammonds, there's been new viruses and there's been viruses that have been knocked on the head. But it took a long time to get vaccines for them, like rubella, whooping cough. I could go on, it was a huge list when I was a kid. Smallpox was eradicated in my lifetime. So we talk about, can we get on top of these little buggers? The answer is yes, but some of these things took 30 years to eventually get it. Now we've got a better scientific community with far more technology. So I expect it will speed up for sure. But there's no way I'm lining up for a vaccine when they say, oh, this is at least 50% good. I'll be saying, what did you say? Yeah, it's guaranteed at least 50% you won't get the virus because of this vaccine. I'll be saying, I don't want it. Why not? Well, what about the other 50%? Oh, well, that's the risk you have to take. No, I don't have to take. And unless fundamental procedure is followed and outcomes can be given and proven, why the hell would you take a vaccine? You might glow in the dark.
Who's glowing in the dark?
I'm just saying, vaccines, unless they're actually put to the test thoroughly and they show that there's a huge percentage that it'll stop you getting something, why would you take it if they say it's only going to give you 50% protection?
Yeah.
Politically, it's good.
No, won't be taking any vaccines either.
It's like me in the UK saying to Nicole, well, actually, you know, the vaccine is good. And you say, well, what do you mean by good? Well, it's the best thing we've got at the moment. Nicole, roll up your sleeve. No, you know, roll up your sleeve. It's the government's done best, and this is a good political outcome. I mean, a good community outcome, and it'll fix at least 50% of the problem. No, no, and no. Why would anyone in their hundreds of thousands line up like guinea pigs to something that might work? I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I'm not stupid. Well, enough about Windows. It's a pain in the ass. But like I had lots of people over the years tell me about who's doing this and who's doing that. The truth is, the planet is run by people that are evil and greedy. That's not a conspiracy. That's a fact. And will that change? No. It's intergenerational. There are families that have ruled this planet based on the fact they've got a lot of money. And they can lobby everyone to death, buy politicians, backhanders. Does that happen? Yep. Is that a conspiracy? No, that's fact. So the planet is ruled by rich, greedy bastards. Well, I won't be taking that one, Hammers. I don't take medication at all.
So we can all glow in the dark.
Yeah.
Well, that'll come in handy the amount of times I get up to pee. I'll find my way.
Yeah, that's if you pee on the ground as you're walking.
Oh, God, then you'll see. Does that
No,
mean-
so there's no conspiracy needed to know that the planet is run by pricks with a lot of money. And there's old money most of the time. People like Bezos, Jeff Bezos, he's new money in relative terms. But old money has connections. New money just has new money. All right, I hope you do well.
Yeah, me too. I'm
Monday
gonna
morning, tomorrow, back to work.
go Play my game.
Scrambled eggs and sauces, I think you said, didn't you?
Play my games for
Remember,
you.
Nicole, use the sauce. The sauce is with you. Enjoy your week. Head down, bum up, well, in the right circumstance, cooking-wise, metaphorically speaking. Enjoy your week. Goodbye.
Go play a bit of game, then I'll have to go to bed. I have grandchildren that'll wake me up early, no doubt.
Yes, we'll be up early with the kids for sure. Guaranteed. Well, we might toodle off. There's Princess Know-a-lot. And from me, no longer a Sasquatch. Those were the days. Good speaking with you, Hammers, Nicole, and others that are hiding in the corner. We know who you are. Don't come back unless you have that beard. One moment, Nicole. Hello, Nicole. How you going? See you later.